The second season beginning of the battle. I slowly opened my eyes. Newt was hovering over me, and my dear Nan was beside me. I was trying to speak, but no sound came out. I think it was mumbling nonsense. As my vision cleared, I realized I was in hospital. Gradually, my focus returned. Memories of being shot by a stranger, and that dark street, where I was left for dead, came flooding back. You to calm down. Honey, everything's okay. Normal, what happened? Who brought me here? Newt, I don't know, dear. They found you wounded in the street. He started crying. Nan, scared, curled up in Newt's arms. Normal, my dear Nan, it's nothing, I'm fine. My chest hurts. That's why I'm here to get better. Nan, does that mean you'll be okay? Norma, and of course, my dear, we'll go home soon. Nanta, will you play with me later? When I nodded, it seemed to erase all his worries. He became energetic again. Meanwhile, Newt composed himself. Narmaron, did you inform the police? Newchan, yes. They said they would investigate. We also filed a complaint. Tell them everything once you regain consciousness. I was hospitalized for 4 days. The bullet struck between my lung and heart. I believe I owe my life to the darkness of the street, which prevented that strange man from hitting his target. After being discharged, we went to the police headquarters. I showed all the information I had and described what I had seen. They said they would investigate, but suggested we consider relocating temporarily to the high risk of another attack. First, we went to my father's house. Luxembourg and a Newt for my parents. They had visited me several times over the past few days, urging us to stay with them. I returned to work, where a lot had piled up. My manager, Mr. Gannell, was very kind and insisted I not overexert myself. He asked if government agents had shot me, and I recounted the story. He was very surprised and mentioned that government agents had killed many people recently, which had made the public very angry. In the evening, I was heading home from work as usual, that the subway skipped 3 stations, including the one where I needed to get off. Passengers boarding the train mentioned that the stations were skipped due to clashes between demonstrators and the police. I got off and took a taxi the rest of the way to my father's house. Nan opened the door, just like at our own home. I hugged him tightly. Inside, the atmosphere was a bit tense. I greeted them and asked what had happened. They said there had been a shooting at the demonstration today, with about 200 people killed or wounded. People also attacked and took over several police stations. I told them to be careful not to hurt their hands, though honestly, I didn't care much. Political and social issues have never been important to me, especially when I'm just trying to make ends meet. People have already revolted, but what was the result? I had heard from several protesters that anyone would be better than the current regime, but that's not true. One leader is just like the next. I preferred to play with Brud instead of getting involved in these issues. Newt joined us, and then my parents. We played hide and seek. Nan loves him and couldn't get enough of the game, but eventually, he got hungry and agreed to stop. During dinner, the electricity went out. Nan is afraid of the dark, so we turned on our phone flashlights and played shadow games. He loved it. It was a good night for him. At the end of the night, after putting the Brud to sleep, we gathered in the living room to talk. Everyone agreed it was better to change our situation quickly. We decided to move with Newt and see if we could find a house near my father's. This way we would feel more secure. I slept next to Nuke and Nan that night. I fell asleep very late, thinking about that man, the future, the insecurity, and what was good. The next morning, I went to work, and then directly to the landlord. Mr. Zubari was very kind to me. He told me not to worry, and even offered to help with moving the furniture. He asked, did they catch the one who shot me? I said no. I didn't think they could. With the current situation in the country, the police are very busy. In the afternoon, we looked at some houses with Newt and Anne. My father gave me some money he had saved. I had enough to rent a place, so we found a house quickly. It was on the same street as my father's house, just a 3 or 4 minute walk away. We decided to move the furniture the day after tomorrow. We moved everything quietly at night. My father came and made sure no one followed us. Ute and Nan are very happy with their new home. It's a bit bigger, has a garden where we can plant violets and roses. Brid can also buy chickens, and we didn't even have a terrace in our previous house. That month passed without incident. There are sporadic clashes between people and the police. People had taken over several police stations, which is why they had guns, leading to nightly shootings. Only the demonstrators and the police went out at night. Because there were so many demonstrators, the city wasn't quiet until midnight. People are determined to overthrow the government. Gradually, more people are getting guns. There were rumors that some disgruntled soldiers were giving weapons to the people. Gradually, the police disappeared from the streets, replaced by army checkpoints. This situation caused more insecurity. Robbery and extortion became my main concerns. If someone stole or extorted something, there was no police to follow up. The courts were too busy with demonstrations. Newt and Nan never left the house. I also bought a knife that I always carried with me. It was a Columbia brand, with a sharp point and a saw edge very handy. I felt strong with it in my pocket. It was difficult to go to work. I didn't have a car, and there was no Uber anymore. Taxis were the same. Only a few buses and subways were running. During these days, some bitter news made things even harder. My dear father passed away. Maybe I spent the hardest days of my life in the week after hearing this news. My father was always my biggest support and helper. Whenever I had a problem, he was my first option for help, but suddenly he was gone. He died of a heart attack in his sleep. My father was always my biggest support and helper. Whenever I had a problem, he was my first option for help, but suddenly he was gone. He died of a heart attack in his sleep. He fell asleep and never woke up. The hardest part was that I had to stay calm to keep the spirits of my beloved Nan and Newt from being shattered in this difficult situation. I asked my mother and brother to come live with us, mainly because of my insecurities. My mother agreed, but my brother did not. We sold our father's house and distributed everyone's share.